What's up YouTube, and welcome to my pickups video for the month of May 2025. Did some travel as always this month. I had a Colorado work trip at the beginning of the month and actually spent time in the northern part of the state in Fort Collins this time. Had a little bit of time to hit a game store or two while I was up there, but not a whole lot of time to go looking around, and found a couple things there, so it was worth stopping at. And then really toward the end of the month, I had the Memorial Day weekend off, of course, and went to Ohio to spend that weekend for the bulk of the time, and hit some minor league baseball games in Columbus, Ohio, as well as Toledo. Hit a few game stores along the way, especially in Indianapolis, so you'll see some stuff from that as well. Not a ton of stuff this month, but I did find a huge game off my want list, so very excited about that, and I'll talk about that here shortly as well. So the first thing I got is actually from the Ohio weekend trip, and this was at a game store I stopped at in Indianapolis that had gotten a pretty good trade-in of import games pretty recently, and there was a variety of different systems that they had import releases for. And this was one that I had slightly on my awareness list, but I wanted to check it out and go ahead and grab it. And this is Chalvo 55 for the Japanese Game Boy. This one did not come here, of course, and it is a super action puzzle game, as it is taglined on even the cartridge label. Pretty fun game. It is kind of maze-like is the way it works. Your main character here actually turns into a ball, and basically once you're in the ball mode, you can't stop. You have a lot of inertia, and you have to bounce around and break barriers and open up doorways and things like that. You can go back into robot form like he showed on the cover art here, but really he can't do a whole lot. He doesn't attack or anything like that. He just kind of stands there and you can walk around and stand on platforms and things like that. So kind of an interesting game. The mazes are a little bit annoying, to be honest, but I like the gameplay of it. It was a weird release. This came out in 1997, which was toward the end of the black and white Game Boy life, and it actually has no Super Game Boy modes at all. So very weird that a later release like this didn't take advantage of some of the newer hardware that was starting to come in that most of the Game Boy games supported by that time. But can recommend it if you can find it pretty cheap. This one wasn't super expensive, and it was one that saved me from having to buy it from Japan, just finding it in a store. So happy to get that. Next thing I got was actually a game that came in the mail just a couple days ago, and this is one that I waited for 16 months. I actually tracked how long it took. And that is Shadow of the Ninja Reborn by Strictly Limited Games, which doesn't have the best track record in getting games out in a timely manner. The one thing nice I will say about them is, since I ordered it so long ago, I only had a PS4 at the time, and now I have a PS5. I worked with their customer service about a month ago when they said they were about to start shipping these, and they were willing to change me to the PS5 version, so that was kind of nice. If you're unfamiliar with this game, it is a remake of a NES game, Shadow of the Ninja, and it is by the Natsume developer that also put out several other games as remakes in recent years. So there was Wild Guns remake, Ninja Warriors, or slash Ninja Saviors, and then Pocky and Rocky, Super Nintendo, were all remade for modern consoles by this sub-developer of Natsume. So this is actually interesting because the other games were all 16-bit titles. This is an 8-bit title that they've now put the modern flavor on. I can say the art style on this is great. You have two ninjas. They have a lot of colorfulness to their moves and things like that, and they definitely put a lot of effort into making them very fluid. Much more so than you see in a lot of these modern remake games. Just like their other games that they have remade, this game is really, really hard, and so you will replay these stages over and over and over until you can master them, it feels like. It's honestly a less forgiving game than something like Ninja Gaiden, where you can continue in the same spot. You have to start over at the start of the level every time you die, and you get one life. You do have a life bar, but there is only one life. So pretty brutal, difficult level, and a little bit harder than I even remember the original NES version being. But happy this is finally out. I wish Natsume would have published it themselves like they did with some of the other titles. But ultimately just glad this finally showed up, because this took a really, really long time to get here. So looking forward to playing that a little bit more as I get some more time with it. We'll talk about a couple of PS4 releases next. These were games that I got on the Colorado trip. I'd been putting these off for a really long time, and the store had new copies that they were sitting on. These were former limited run releases, I believe, and this is the Psycho Shooting Library Volume 1 as well as Volume 2. So these came out kind of interestingly. They were released on the Switch in Japan first, and then they came out on the US Switch, and then like several years went by, and then we finally got a PS4 version in Japan, and then later than that, Limited Run brought them to the US. So very strange cycle in getting these games released on the PS4. I've never owned a Switch, so I didn't have ability to play them on that. I do also have Psycho collections on the Japanese PS2, and they actually mirror several of the games on this, in that you got 2 games per pack on those, and several of the games are repeats from that. So some of this is not really that unique, but there's a few games in here I wanted to check out. What this one contains, this is the first one. This one has Strikers 1945, 1, 2, and 3, also known as Plus, I believe. And then it has Soul Divide, Dragon Blaze, and Zero Gunner 2, which was also released on the Japanese Dreamcast. This one, I think the only thing that was semi-unique was the Strikers 3 that I didn't have on any other pack. But even that one, now that I'm thinking about it, I think I have it on a PSP package compilation as well. So maybe this one was kind of a waste. But then we moved to the second pack, and this one at least had something unique to it. So this one has the Sengoku Aces / Blade series games. It has parts 1, 2, and 3. And then it has Gunbird 1 and 2. And then the one that I know I don't have on any other pack is Gunbarich, which is actually an Arconoid-style block-breaking game that has some of the characters from Gunbird in it. So I think that was why a little bit of crossover with that one. What can I say about these? Honestly, I really like some of the originals that these games are, and all the different ways I've played them, being like Japanese Saturn, PS1, and then even the PS2 compilations, as well as the arcade versions. Something seems off on these. I think the emulation on these is a little bit weak, and I'm not too surprised because these were actually put together by City Connection, which doesn't really have the best track record, as well as some of the lag that their games have. So kind of poor that they chose them to do the port work for these, but you know, I do like the games and the compilations. So happy I finally got these. Like I said, I knew there was a reason I delayed buying them when these first came out, and I didn't order them on Limited Run like I normally probably would. But maybe I was even thinking, oh wait, it's a City Connection version. I don't know if I want that. So hopefully someday that company will get it right, because they've been getting some really good licenses for classic shooters. It's just they haven't been doing the best job of bringing them home. So can't fault the collection, just can fault the effort put in a little bit. So let's talk about Japanese PS2 games. This is a system that I haven't really bought much for in a long time. First one of these was a surprise purchase. I actually didn't know this one existed. This is the Simple 2000 Series Volume 26, and it's a collection of 3 pinball games, all of them just made up for the console. So it has Attack the Dragon Love Songs, which is like an idol playing a concert type of pinball game, and then Operation Thunderstorm, which I think that was my favorite of the 3. These are not great. They were kind of low buck, which comes with the territory with these Simple 2000 series games, but it is nice that at least you get 3 games in the package. I really do have a weak spot for console pinball games, so I thought there might be something redeeming here, but I probably won't be returning to this too much. Very strange, I found this at a local game store that also got an import game trade-in, and was just happy to find something different that I didn't know existed to go ahead and grab from that collection. So I did find out this came out in Europe. It had a really generic title. I don't remember what it was off the top of my head. It was something like Good Pinball. But we didn't get this one in the US. So European, you can get the English translated version of that. However, there isn't a whole lot of English, or a whole lot of Japanese in this game. It's a barrier or anything like that. So if you like pinball, probably worth checking out if you can get it cheap. If not, you can certainly pass on that one. Another game that I've been putting off getting for a very long time for Japanese PS2, this came from the stop in Indianapolis as well, is the Gunvari Collection plus Time Crisis by Namco. This is a really cool collection that just ultimately I didn't need for a lot of different reasons. It is one of the light gun games that supports the GunCon 2 for the PS2, which I am trying to collect all of those. I have all the US ones, now I'm trying to get all the Japanese ones. And why I say this one wasn't like completely essential for me is I have all these games on PS1. So I have all the different the Time Crisis games, and then these games were released here under different names for the different mini-game collections, 1, 2, and 3 that you have on here. So nice to have it for the PS2 version. I guess the upgrade here is that now you can play with the GunCon 2, which is a little bit more accurate. So I'll have to pop this in and check out if I like it better than playing them on the PS1. But definitely a cool compilation, not super rare or anything like that. It's just one that I've been putting off getting for quite some time. So if you like these games, definitely worth checking out. I like them in the arcade too. I've played them multiple times that way as well. So can recommend it if you like gun games. Alright, I promised a Grail in this video, and this is one that probably most people are unaware of, but this has been a wild goose chase for me to try to track down for several years now. The only copy I have ever seen for sale online prior to this month was Surugai. I had it on their website maybe like 3 years ago, and they wanted about $300 for it, and I couldn't do it because it felt like a made-up price. It was almost like one of those games that's just too rare to have a market value. But ultimately somebody bought it, and so I kind of felt dumb that I passed on it because I couldn't ever find another one since then. No copies ever popped up on eBay that I'm aware of, and so finally I found this one on Japanese Mercari with a seller that was doing the international shipping option, so I was able to get it through there. So luckily I got it for less than Surugai wanted a few years ago, but it still was a pretty expensive game. And that Grail is Bomb Boat for the Japanese PS1, which is part of another budget series called the Super Light 1500 series. This game was developed by Success, and they did a lot of these budget titles, but actually they put a lot more love in their budget titles than most of the other companies did. And frankly, I love this game. I think it is super cute. It has a really nice blend of Pac-Man style gameplay with a little bit of Bomberman mixed in, so that there is overhead mazes that you go through, and you do have bombs that are part of the gameplay elements, but basically the idea of the game is strictly Pac-Man, which is collect fruit, get to the goal, and try to dodge the enemies. It is a very simple game to learn, but obviously it is got a lot of strategy in it and getting through the stages. I don't remember the complete total of all the levels in the game. I want to say it's something like 40 or 50, and I probably played at least 30 of them, just getting hooked on it one night and really digging into this game. So very happy to get this. I think it must be just like a super cult classic in Japan that the few people that are aware of this title will pay big bucks for it, but obviously was not released in any other market. The other thing I'll say about this one is probably why it's so difficult to find is it was a very late release for the Japanese PS1. I think it came out in 2003. And really the games had trickled to a halt in most markets by that time. So don't think there were a whole lot of these printed. But very, very happy to get this game. It is just so cute, and the music in it is great. And ultimately I like Pac-Man style maze games, especially ones with a little bit of a twist. So I think it would be really neat if they revised this series, maybe came up with a modern game in the arcades even that could do good. But I think they really did a nice job creating a unique title for a budget series like this in Japan. So very happy to get this in my collection. There is also a variant of this game that has another one of the Success titles, which is the Sandvane, which we did actually get here. It is a shooter. And I think it might have been like a Korean market version only, and it has Sandvane as well as Bomb Boat on the same disc with a little bit different packaging. But ultimately I decided I wanted this version, and I never see those for sale either. So if you're ever able to find this game anywhere, especially in Japan, I definitely recommend picking it up. It's a lot of fun, and just very happy to get this after years of searching for this. So that was my Grail of the month. The last thing I want to show you is an eBay find. I was a little bit disappointed with this when it showed up, but I needed the manual for Two Crude Dudes on the Sega Genesis, and I have a box and cartridge for this, so this is now complete. This actually came from the UK, and it was cheaper to buy it from a UK seller and pay shipping than to buy this from any of the US sellers that were listing it. But the seller really didn't take a whole lot of care in sending this to me. They didn't even put it in like any cardboard. Sent it in just a plain old envelope, and then of course internationally, and so it got pretty beat up, honestly, in the journey. If it wasn't so cheap, I probably would have returned it, but nice to have this game complete. It is a neat beat-em-up for the Sega Genesis that we didn't get on any other systems, so happy to have that complete, even though it's probably going to get an upgrade down the road if I ever find a better one. So that about does it. But yeah, like I said, a few games I found from the travels, not a whole lot of other stuff locally or online other than a few exceptions, but very happy to get those games in the collection, and especially that Bomb Boat release. So thank you very much for watching. Please take a moment, like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you think, and I will talk to you soon. Have a great day or night, wherever you are.